what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Nummy Num and Ranty. How are you both doing, gentlemen? Good to have you.
Doing good.
Yeah, we've had some beautiful weather in Toronto the last couple of days. Just gorgeous.
Oh,
And like 25 degrees Celsius.
Troll attack already. 30 seconds into the show.
He got Nummy Num.
I'll bring it back in on Skype. Literally, that's the fastest I've ever seen. Amazing. Hey ho. Right, I'll go and get Nummy.
It's definitely Chris. It was that Jim Benson account. I think Anthony's here as well. Are you there, Anthony?
No, I don't think he is.
He's in the conversation. Unless he's,
Really?
He's apparently so, yeah.
Fair enough. No. Troll attack. See if he manages to take Ranty with him. If so, it's new hangout time. Did he get you, Ranty? I think that's an affirmative. Right, new hangout. Literally after about, how long have we been streaming? 2.5 minutes. Fun. Let's see if I can get Nummy back while I do this. Hello.
Wow, sniped instantly.
Instantly, literally within seconds of the show beginning. But I'm gonna see if I can resolve that problem. Hopefully, while you hold down the dead air. We shall see.
Are you going to start a new hangout, or are we just?
Yeah,
gonna
it's just going to take me a little bit longer while I do something slightly different.
Okay. But I'm still live, right?
You are. I should
Okay.
really make you aware of that when you come in on Skype.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that yesterday and today we've had 25 degrees Celsius weather in Toronto, beautiful and sunny. It's just gorgeous. It's like summer. The trees are in bloom. It's excellent. Wonderful.
Miserable as sin here.
Sorry?
Miserable as sin.
Well, we're just coming out of, we had an ice storm 2 weeks ago, so it's an incredible contrast. Amazing how quickly the weather changes here. But it's also amazing what a good feeling it brings for when spring arrives, or when the warm weather really finally touches down.
Oh, that's definitely the case. I love spring. For us, it was about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And it went from a week before that, there was snow on the ground. And then within a week, it was warm enough to go out in t-shirt and shorts. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah, I spent most of the day outside yesterday in a t-shirt and just felt like $1 million. I mean, we have pretty brutal winters, as you can imagine. I live in Canada, so.
But I think there's a lot of people who don't pay attention to when I say the weather, I mean in the most literal sense. They don't look outside their window. So you see people in long coats and jumpers, and you're like, wow, it's nice out here, and you're like dressed like that. That's bonkers.
So this is the. So should I join? Oh wait, no, that's not the new hangout
No.
yet.
So I'm literally just this second about to share it in Skype.
Okay.
So we'll see. Either somebody in Masturbators is rogue, or they don't recycle the links anymore, so I'll have to make a whole bunch of new hangouts. Hello, monster. So yeah, but you can stay on Skype if you want to, Nummy, or feel free to join the other hangout that I've just started. It's up to you.
Okay, can you drop it in this chat?
Yeah, I think so. If my kid wasn't
Wait,
climbing
no,
all over
I
me.
can-
Hold on
Never
a
mind.
sec.
Never mind. So I'm gonna drop you here, and then I'm gonna come back in.
Okay, yeah, pick it up from Masturbators.
Okay.
Hi, Ranty. Can you hear us?
How do you?
Good. Not bad. Other than a little monster climbing all over me. Bring the hangout back up. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out why. Because I hadn't actually published the link. So that wasn't available to the public. It had only been put out in Skype. So I kind of wonder, how has that person managed to get hold of that link?
Right, okay, interesting. So obviously somebody is sharing the link.
Not necessarily. There's a few things it could be. Isolate your variables, Ranty. Anybody who's watching, there's a new link in Masturbators. Hopefully, if we don't get anybody, I've done something slightly different. That's why it took me 2 or 3 minutes rather than 60 seconds. So if we don't get any nasty trolls joining this one, I'll know what to do for next time. So before this all gets very dull, Ranty, you've been working on all sorts of stuff.
I have, yeah. I've been refining the footage that I got a couple of nights ago.
Okay.
Been doing some measurements, figuring out some stuff, identifying individual buildings. It's very interesting.
Would you like to share any of it with us?
Sure. Tell me when.
Yeah, you're up. You're up.
Right, okay. Let me screenshot. Okay, let's have a find of what I'm supposed to be looking for. Let's get rid of that.
You ready?
Not yet. I am almost ready.
No worries.
Okay, let's start with this one actually.
Yeah, I've got you up.
We can start with this.
Excellent. Yeah, you're up. You're on page.
Lovely. Right. Okay. So this was taken looking at Barrow and Furnace, and what we have here is an artist's rendition, 3D. In fact, I'll show you that. Actually, that'll be interesting to bring that up. Actually, it's this Devonshire dock, and this was a 3D render that I found online of it. The height of the building is 51 meters, and as you can see, you can twist it around, and basically I put it into the correct orientation as I viewed it. So that's this top one here. This one was taken from an elevation of about 50 feet, the middle one. So I was actually looking across at Barrow and Furnace. You can actually see buildings. You can see someone's house here. There's the roof, chimneys of other people's houses in the foreground. And this building, which is the 4th highest building in Barrow at 51 meters, is here. And this bottom image was taken from an elevation of 6 feet. Now, essentially, the curvature calc says that 37 meters should be hidden of this building. So if this building is 51 meters tall here, this is the 51 meters, 37 of it should be beyond the curve. But clearly, from the 6 feet elevation, we're seeing an awful lot more. This was taken from the video, so anyone can see that. It's out on my channel. The orientation is correct. And I've worked it out that essentially we're even seeing the tops of these buildings over here, and we've got these floodlights that are here. Tops of these buildings are just starting to wash out into the into the refraction zone. And over here, we can also see the lamps over here. Again, the lamps, and you can see the rooftops of these buildings here. So there's no way that we're seeing the curve calcs, what they say anyway. And that's presentation number 1. That's what we saw for Barrow.
Can you go without sounding facetious? Can you go through it all again?
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah. So I got this 3D render from online. It's I'll show you again. Devonshire.co. Anyone can do this. They can download my video from my channel. They can do the same thing that I'm doing. This building is 51 meters in height. Curve calcs say that at this distance, this building, you should only see the top 14 meters of it, which would essentially put it roughly, let's see, I would say around where my cursor is here. But clearly, even this part of the building here, you can see the slanty roof. You can see the slanty roof here and the white part of it here. The white part of it here. All we're seeing is these 3 parts of this building. There's another building that's in front of it. This is a different building. So we're seeing this, this, and this, which are the part of this render, and we're seeing it in this image from 6 feet. We're seeing the shadow. It looks like a shadowy area here, which is part of this. We're seeing the roof. We're seeing the white part here. So we're seeing the shadow, the roof, the white part, all the way down to here. So this is
just so it's all contained in this one presentation for presentation number 1. Can you show us where this was observed from, and then show us on Google the distance, please?
So, this is Google Earth. This is the place itself. This is the buildings. This is them here. 1, 2, 3. That's the 3 that we're seeing. The other 3 are hidden behind this other building in the foreground, which I believe is this one here. I think if I go on to, if I put myself here, you might actually see that building. I'll just move up a tad. You'll see it. Can you see this building here?
This is cool. First time you've utilised Street View on this debate.
Yep. Well, here we go. You can see this building. This is the building that we're visualizing in the foreground. If I go to the image itself, you'll see it here. Can you see the building? Same outline. And there it is here. That's in the foreground. So we're seeing that from here, and that's what's stopping us from seeing the backside of that Devonshire building. On exit street level. Right. So I took the images from over here. I believe it's about 16 miles away. I can do another curve calc on it for you if you want, distance. So
yeah, why not?
Right. So we're looking at this building over here, Barrow and Furnace. So essentially 16.5 miles to these buildings here. And then if we do the curve calcs on it, where are we? 16.5, viewer height in feet, 6. Refracted hidden, you should see, well, forget the refracted hidden, not doing that. Just hidden, 121 feet, drop 181 if we do it in metric. Bearing in mind that that building is 51 meters tall, 37 meters of it should be hidden. And if we just went by the actual drop, it would be completely gone. You shouldn't see any of it.
Awesome. You always do this though. You go to the drop figure.
Yeah, I mean, if
we're gonna presuppose their radius and presuppose refraction and all these other things, at least the value you give is the hidden value. That would be the least objectionable to them. Again, I'm going to reiterate this like I've done a million times. This is all begging the question. We're assuming we're on a sphere. We're assuming that we're assuming that we've got a gradient of atmosphere that refracts through infinite layers of infinite densities of atmosphere. All this is assumed. So there we go. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
on their calcs, the value I'd give, if you can just pop them back up once more. I'd say
Yeah,
the
and
hidden
I want to
value.
echo it if it's okay.
Yeah, 37 meters. That would be what I'd say is supposed to be hidden according to them. If you're going to beg the question, at least beg the question the way they beg it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think we should beg the question anymore. I think that I was discussing it with a baller this morning, and he genuinely believes that light travels in arcs. Light travels in straight lines. It doesn't travel in an arc. And the arc calculation that they use for the calculation is based on a radius that they presuppose exists but can't prove to be true. So even if you presuppose the radius part, light still doesn't travel in at a rate of 7/6. It travels at basically 1. In other words, a straight line. It doesn't travel at 7/6. Even if there was a radius, it doesn't travel like that. It travels up and down. Soundly shows it. So this 7/6 thing continuously creates an arc that goes down, and that isn't how light travels. Light travels in straight lines, and it deviates from straight minuscule amounts, or negligible, as the word goes. So no, we on the flat Earth side, we shouldn't be given the refracted version. We should use the Dizzy Hub one that doesn't have the refraction, because I would rather have no refraction than any refraction that's based on a radius that they can't prove, and of course based on an arc that light doesn't even travel on. It's nonsense to suggest that the light moves in an arc. It's ridiculous. So we'll use the Dizzy Hub one in future, Ranty, and we'll not account for any refraction and let them come back to us with all the nonsense.
So that,
Okay.
I don't know if that ranty concludes number 1. Do you want to move? I haven't got you presented at the moment. If you just let me know when you're ready to sort of have a nice, concise starting point for your second presentation.
Okay. I was going to show the video, but it's
Oh
fine.
yeah, no. If that's still part of the first one, I'd rather do that. If you've got it up now, so I'll put it up on screen.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
I've still got the
introduce what
video
it
up
is.
now, yeah.
Yeah, if you just say what it is, introduce exactly what it is. So I've got you up now.
Okay, so the image where I said it's at 6 feet. So if we go to here, this capture here was taken from a video. My elevation was 6 feet. I'll show you the video part of it now. And this is the part we're concentrating on with the 2 red lights here. I'll pan back in a moment. And this is the screenshot that I took. And then you see the light comes on the lighthouse. And basically when I zoom out right at the end, I'll show you my location.
On the beach by the water.
There we go. Cool. And the next one will be the Isle of Man. I'll present
Excellent.
that.
I'll take you off screen just while you get all that queued up. So that is the conclusion to your first demonstration today, because you've got a lot.
Okay. Yep.
Excellent. This is the bit where, if Anthony, if you did have anything to interject, this is your moment while he sorts out his next bits and bobs. About begging the question.
No, I just say emphasize the curvature that's supposed to be there. It's dawned on me that there's an issue with the interpretation of the results from the video from yesterday. So when I get a chance, come back to me, because I want to go through it, because it appears that people don't really understand what should be seen on a ball. So I just want to address that so it's clear.
Yeah, I think that's important. If I forget, remind me, because yeah, we went through that, and yeah, I agree. I think that's important to highlight.
Yeah, I wanted just to fill in this little gap for a moment. I was doing some reading about actual physical tests and experiments that have been done to try to measure the effect of refraction through air over distance. And it seems that the reality of what refraction, of the effect of refraction on light, is just what they call scintillation or optical turbulence. That in like along the lines of what Anthony's saying, that it doesn't bend in arcs. It basically just distorts the image the further away that you get. And I saw this interesting research paper where they showed that if they took, if you took like several hundred video frames of the same, over a long distance of the same image, and then you averaged out the distortions, you could actually restore the real image. Like you could actually remove the optical distortion from the image simply by averaging out the distortions, which strongly implies that the light, on average, travels in straight lines from one point to another.
Indeed.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Perfectly. I mean, I was thinking I wasn't thinking exactly along those lines, but I was thinking if not Anthony, sorry, if Ranty was to composite some of these images, and as he's looking at this distance, 60 plus miles, you do find that some of the things wave in and out of view. But if you were to overlay the composite rather than butt it up next to each other, as you say, you're effectively stacking the image as you've panned through it, because you're taking basically, obviously, whatever it is per second, 30 frames per second, say for the sake of argument, or 24 frames per second. Well, that means you've got 24 images to stack. And as you say, you can see it waving in and out of view, or, I say waving, I mean, there's an effect of the light that is causing it to dissipate what you can see and then have it reappear again. Well, that is negated by stacking the images.
Yeah, exactly. Here, I'm going to drop a link in the side here. Maybe you want to put this in the description of the video later, just so people can read it if they're interested. That's dealing with these actual tests of optical turbulence that the context of the paper was developing computer vision for like removing optical distortion by averaging, right? So they use like a artificial intelligence, quote unquote, like statistical computing algorithm in order to process out the effects of refraction, which is actually in fact shown to be like affecting light only on a sort of microscopic scale, and then averaging itself out over time. It's just very interesting, because one thing that seems to be sorely lacking from the Glober side, claiming that light can refract a whole image in an arc over a long distance, is any sort of physical evidence of any kind that actually can happen. Right? Like something, a test done in a controlled environment where we could determine whether or not the light had actually moved in an arc, instead of just assuming that it had over the supposed curve of the Earth. You guys there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got your stuff up on screen now. I'm just scrolling through it.
Oh, okay.
You can't see it. The audience can.
Okay.
I agree. Light doesn't move in an arc. What it does is it deviates from straight. But if you imagine the light ray that's hitting your eye as looking down the sights of a rifle, imagine you've got your crosshair and you're trying to hit a target. You can't get it to sit perfectly in the middle of the target because it always wanders slightly off center. That's what the light rays are doing. They're wandering off center, but they're wandering up and down, not just down.
Yeah.
In fact,
they're wandering off in all directions, but then on average, it wanders off equally in all directions. That's correct. That's what they found in these experiments, right? So I just think that's interesting that when this stuff is actually, when people have made, like, because these people were testing this stuff with a purpose in mind, right? Like they were trying to create a computer algorithm to neutralize the effects of refraction in order to determine an image over from a long distance, right? And they had a practical reason to actually figure out what the real tangible effects of various kinds of optical distortion would do. So there's that cs.cmu.edu. There's a whole bunch of interesting papers actually, and I'm sure there's there's a number of other insights to be gleaned for anyone who feels like reading some papers on optics, because they actually have done, they've done some interesting research just in order to create these algorithms and systems for removing optical distortion.
And
Very
what's
cool.
interesting in the first article that you posted is when they're showing the light rays, they're not showing them as a curve; they're showing them as straight.
Yeah.
So anybody that thinks that light travels based on an arc that continuously bends down, you're not in touch with reality, because that's not the way that light works. Light is straight. It goes in straight lines, and if it's a particle or a wave, who cares? It still goes to your eye in a straight line. Light doesn't bend.
Also consider that air is supposedly, 1,000 to 1 ratio of empty space to particles, right?
Right, Ranty, I've got you up.
Okay, yeah.
So this is
for the Isle
presentation
of
number
Man.
2, right?
It is, yeah, and this is the Isle of Man. I have noticed some incredible things actually whilst I've just been focusing on this particular shot, this frame. We actually have a boat that's behind this wind turbine here. Now, they're not allowed to fish inside the wind turbines themselves. So either it's a fishing boat or it's part of the maintenance stuff that looks after these turbines. I'm not too sure. It looks a bit too small for that. But also, we've got these seagulls that are all in a line here, clustered. Now, they generally float around fishing boats and fishing trawlers. From the other video that I took from St. Bees, we actually saw that. So that's just an interesting observation of something that I've seen just here at the minute. If that is a fishing boat, though, that will mean it will have to be behind the turbines, which would put it at a distance of about 23 miles away. Elevation was 35 feet, and essentially that boat should be like 130 feet beyond the curve. We shouldn't even see that. Anyway, this is North Barule, and we shouldn't see this at all. The curve calcs would put the curve calculations about where my cursor is up here. So North Barule should not be seen from my location. I'm going to play the video. This is North Barule. Hopefully I pan left in a minute. Yeah. We're still seeing the Isle of Man. More Isle of Man here. Another part of the Isle of Man here. This is, I've got a capture up here. This would be Clag Uwe, something like that, what it's called. Back to the video. Next we come to Snaefell. Passing Snaefell, which shouldn't be seen on the curve calculations. None of this should be seen, people.
None of it should be seen on the pseudoscience globe model.
Well, yeah, none of it should be seen on. If you're a baller, you shouldn't be seeing this.
And if you're a normal person, you realize that light doesn't move in an arc. It moves in straight lines, and it deviates minusculely off center. It doesn't bend in an arc. There is no radius. It's not been proven. You claim there is, but I claim that unicorns exist. Doesn't make it true.
Yeah, the word is scintillation, not arc, right? That's what lights.
What we need to do then is let's hijack and take ownership of the phrase refraction, and let's call it scintillation all the time from now on, because that sounds like a better word than refraction. Because if everybody thinks that refraction means that light's bending, well, let's not use that word anymore. Let's phase that out as redundant, and we'll use scintillation instead.
Yeah, that's a more accurate term, in fact, if you actually look into it, for what we're talking about in the context of these kind of this kind of footage.
Scintillation sounds so much better as well.
Yeah, it is kind of a pretty word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds downright dirty.
And
As it's describing dirty air, I'm happy with that.
Lenny Harry says, Lily making up words now instead of the usual making up meanings to words. No, scintillation is a word. It's been adopted, and we're using it from now on to describe the effects previously known as refraction.
Can you spell it and then say it phonetically?
Scintillation, SCINT, and then you can guess the rest. I don't know.
So here's my
Oh,
location.
come
Am I
on.
still
Hold on.
displaying?
Just before you get through this, just because we're going to be using this term, it'd be nice to have someone spell it correctly.
Okay, hold on, just to make sure I don't make any mistakes.
SCINTILLITION. Scintillation.
Look it up, people.
So
Yeah,
I've
you
put it
carry on,
on
Ranty. You're
Google
still
Earth.
up.
This is where I was taking the image from. The life jacket thing is just here.
Although actually, the definition says that the process or state of emitting flashes of light rather than light. Maybe scintillation is not the right word.
Well, there may be. I don't know. Maybe they're using it in different ways in different contexts. Well, I was going to say, you know, what they're calling it in this paper that I read was optical turbulence.
Actually,
Actually, what?
well, science has its own meanings for words, and it seems to do it backwards. Like the meaning for the word species is not the normal meaning that everybody else would understand the meaning of species to be. They make it up. They make up things like gravity. They make up other words and put meanings to words that nobody else like has a common understanding of. Literally change it back to front to allow things to happen. Let's call it scintillation and call it what we want. Why not?
Indeed.
Well, okay. Or if you look up twinkling on Wiki, like sometimes you have to look up more than one definition in order to find the one you're looking for, because these words have had a lot, you know, they've been used in various contexts. But it says twinkling or scintillation is a generic term for the variations in apparent brightness or position of a distant luminous object viewed through a medium, right? So that's what we're talking about here. The variations in position of a distant luminous object viewed through a medium.
I love that.
And so, yeah, I think that that's what how the way that it's being used in some of these papers on optics is to describe this distortion. It's just the minor variation in position of of a distant object because of basically, like, you know, microscopic eddies of temperature in the air, but that average out, right? That some of them go sideways, some of them go up and down, and then
Shout out to Mr. Flat Curve, who says that if you point a P900 at a baller's ear, you can see right through to the other side.
Okay, so I'm glad we tied down the term, though. Thank you for that, Nummy. Do you want to carry on, Ranty? You're still presenting, so I've been seeing what you've been doing with the curve calcs and things, but...
Yeah, sure. So begging the question, I'm going to keep using that term now that you've set me off on doing that. But this is North Barul, and fortunately we've got a nice gradient runoff here that kind of follows up very nicely with Peak Finder. And you have to ask yourself, how low are we actually seeing? To what point? This should not be seen anyway. The fact is, you shouldn't see this. But if this is North Barul by Peak Finder, and we have it matching up very nicely on the evidence here, how much of North Barul are we actually seeing?
I mean, I don't want you to pin your... I mean, this has been done in the last half an hour, you're matching up with this, so once you've done the composite with it more zoomed and got it in more detail, then, you know, for now, this is very sketchy. And I just want you to disclaim that here, so no one says, "Oh, this whole thing's discredited because they, you know, showed what they were doing as they were doing it." You know what I mean?
Well, what happened was this top part here was a screenshot as I was zooming out, and we know from the video that I just showed you, as I zoomed in and then panned along, you could see all the mountain ranges here. Whereas as I zoom out, you lose that definition. If I play the video again, you'll see what I mean. Let's go. So here we are at the start of the video. There's North Barul, and you can see already it's kind of hazy over here, but you can actually see the mountain ranges here. But we're not actually picking that up as I zoom out to get the one pan. So we lose that definition as I zoom out. But I can composite it, I believe, and maybe draw out some more definition of stuff. This should all be gone though. And Sandra, P900 Cool Pics, shout out to her because she's been seeing this on a regular basis. If you go to her channel, she has got maybe a dozen of these from a different location.
Can you guys hear the birds chirping in my?
I can. I was going to ask who it was. I just didn't want to interrupt.
It's kind of nice, though. I hope.
Yes, very.
It's just there's a bird right above me. He's very loud, so he's part of the chat now.
So again, Ranty, we've seen this video now,
Yes.
and it's full length, I'm pretty sure. So any chance you can show us now where you took this from? So it's at the end of the video. I think you spin around or...
Okay. So going back to the same location where I filmed from Barrow, but except for this time that I was actually a little higher up. I was on the ramp and I wasn't down on the beach. So this was from an elevation of about 35 feet. This point here, the distance is 62.8 miles to the top of Snaefell. If I
just sorry, from that position, if you just tilt your camera up, just so you can see from that position what you're looking at. There we go.
Okay, yeah. So if I had my other hard drive in, I would actually have the wind farms all put on here as well. It would be very nice for you to see through the wind turbines as well, but I haven't got to formatting it properly yet. And of course, we have North Barul, which is here that we're seeing in the evidence. Goes along, we're seeing the tops here. But at what point do we stop seeing this part? Where does it stop? Because the elevation goes quite low. You know, you're talking 900 feet, 800 feet, and the curve calcs say that it should be at least double that. Go to Metabunk, 62.8 feet, viewer height 35, hidden 2058, which is higher than Snaefell. The drop itself, just the drop, 2630.
Awesome.
And
yeah, very good work.
And the thing is that Sandra's seeing this on a daily basis. I haven't been able to get down as often as I wanted to, but P900 Cool Pics, go check her channel out. She sees this pretty much every day. It's not a random occurrence. This happens regular. I had somebody comment that they saw it from Fleetwood with their own eyes without even using a P900. So,
and again, you're gonna hate me, Ranty, but can you can you go through it all again?
All through again?
Yeah.
What, to ram it home?
Well, yeah. If you just start at the beginning again, and this is what I'm looking at. This is where I'm looking at it from. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Just because there's been, it's been broken up a little bit, and it's nice to have a little summary. So this is your second presentation of this show.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So from this location, 35 feet above the water at the time that I took the video, this point here, I looked over at the Isle of Man, zoomed in through the wind turbines, and was able to see North Barul, Snaefell, all of it on the geometric Earth should be beyond the curvature of the Earth. Shouldn't see it. All these mountain ranges here you shouldn't see, and they are evidenced in the video, which I'll just put on again now for you to have a quick look. There's North Barul. That's where it tapers off, comes across. The next mountain range we see here, which is this one here. It's called Claig Uri, and maybe also has a part of this slow lean in it. I'm terrible with these names, but that's what it is. And the next one we're going to see, which is this point here, is Snaefell. again, we shouldn't see this on the curvature of the curvature calculations. Here's Snaefell. And we're actually seeing quite a substantial amount of it. It's not the tippy toppy of it, that's for sure. Again, Sandra sees this every day. Go to her channel, take a look. And as I zoom out, you'll see that there's the water. The tide was around about 2.5 meters. High tide's about 9. Here's my location, and there's 6 steps down to the actual beach. So I estimated my height to be 35 feet. Curvature calcs, I'll put it up now. The distance was 62.8 miles. Viewer height 35 feet. Hidden 2058 with a drop of 2630. I can show you the line measurement here with the properties to prove that that is indeed 62.8 miles to the top of Snaefell.
Absolutely awesome. Does that conclude presentation number 2?
That does.
Awesome.
I've yet to do the Welsh Mountains. I can do that tomorrow, perhaps.
No, do it today. Do you want to do that straight away?
Let me get some stuff together, and we'll perhaps I'll put a little presentation together then, and we'll get that done a bit later on.
Cool.
The Earth is flat, folks.
Well,
Great presentation, Ranty. Thank you for that.
Let's not make any assertions as to what it is. Let's concentrate on pointing out what it's not, because it could be a double helix for all I know, and we can't prove what it is or isn't. We only know what it's not. We can't prove what it is because we have no science, we have no money, we have no personnel that are doing it. The best we got is FE Core and a couple of P900s. So let's not say that it's flat, but let's say that it's definitely not a ball, because there are other explanations. There could be other explanations for what we live on. It might not necessarily be flat.
As a whole, I'd agree with you, but what we are observing is obviously flat.
Yeah. It's observably flat, yeah. So, can I have a go?
Sure.
So, who's got the bird in the background?
That's me. You want me to mute?
Yeah, stick it on mute, man, if you would, while you're not speaking.
I was quite enjoying it.
I thought it was kind of nice, but sure.
Well, it is kind of nice. It's just distracting, that's all. Right, so what I want is... Let me share my screen. It's become apparent that there are a few boulders that don't understand the evidence from yesterday. And I thought I made it really quite clear, but it appears that I didn't. So what I'm going to try and do is represent the video, but like a couple of frames from it and put them through Paint and then just show what the problem is. So if I can get, now I've got the screen on, I should now be able to share screens and share the application window. There we go. It's a pain in the bottom. Come on.
I just found a better video with North Barul looking a lot nicer.
There we go. Right, so Nathan, are we on?
Yeah, we've got black screen.
Oh.
I mean, if you can see your video, it's just on a black screen, paused.
Not paused. Right, let me stop that. Link's not gone out publicly yet, has it?
No, not yet.
Right, I'll just do it on the entire screen. Then for some reason, it doesn't really like it when I do it that way. Right, so the video went out yesterday, and that was after Rumpus failed to make a prediction, right? He didn't come on. He didn't stand by his prediction. He wasn't a man of his word. He failed. Now, basically, the land that appears here, when I zoom in, this is the bit that 1 or 2 people didn't really understand. So what I'm going to do is just take a freeze frame of that picture, and I'm going to put it into Paint, and I'm going to show what it should look like on a ball, because it's clear that some people don't understand it. and I don't get why they don't understand it. So I'm going to do a pictorial demonstration of why this is not the case. If I get the select tool, and the land is basically there in the evidence, if we lived on a ball, we know that land is about 250 to 300 feet tall, and it should be behind 700 feet of curve. So I'm going to drop that down. That will be 600 feet, and then drop it down a little bit more to represent 700 feet. That would be where the land is, and there is like a bulge in front of us. That's a wall of water. That's what it said on Metabunk. So the land that's here shouldn't be here. It should be where it is roughly. That's where it's come from, and we can see it. But it should be behind the horizon by some degree, and the horizon is opaque. You can't see it. So it should be dropped behind the horizon, and we should not see it at all. That's where it would physically be if we lived on a ball. But because we don't live on a ball, and we may or may not live on flat, who knows what it is, we're seeing it sat on the horizon. Now, it's not below the horizon. It's sat on the horizon, and it's only possible if the earth that we live on, or the land that we live on, is flat. Now, I don't care about the stars and the sun and the moon at this point. The land that we live on is observably flat. There is no measurable curvature. There is no detectable curvature. You cannot detect that we are on anything other than something flat. And this is the proof. If it was, then that land would be down here somewhere, and it would be obscured by the horizon because it's starting to roll away from you because we're moving backwards on a ball, gaining the distance required at 34 miles. So, I mean, I think that's really that's quite self-explanatory, but it seems that some people struggle with it. But we shouldn't see this land at all. Okay? We know that light doesn't move in an arc. We know that light moves in straight lines, and it deviates minusculely from straight. It'll go up, down, left, or right. It doesn't follow 7/6 of the radius of the Earth. Light moves in straight lines. Lasers show you that. Now, I have seen demonstrations where the laser shows it in water that it does follow an arc, but that's in a 700 times more dense material where the effects are magnified by 700 times. It's not to scale. If you want to show that light bends in an arc, show it in atmosphere. There is no evidence for it in an atmosphere. That's why it doesn't exist. The only way you can do it is to exaggerate it with a fluid that's 700 times more dense. Then you are misrepresenting the attributes associated with the gas known as the atmosphere. We're not looking through a medium change. Snell's law doesn't apply. We're looking through the same medium. And the only difference is the minuscule variations between pressure, density, temperature, gas law in molar form. There are 4 conditions that you can manipulate to make what we see, to change the way that light is behaving. And it's a minuscule change. It isn't worth calculating for. It's negligible. And when they say, well, what about non-standard refraction? Well, non-standard refraction is described as things like fata morganas, superior mirage, inferior mirage, fata brumosas. We don't see any of those evidences when we're looking at things that are sat on the horizon that are where we would expect them to be if the Earth were flat. Fata morganas and stuff like that, they're all non-standard refraction. But in that list of non-standard refraction, you never see the curvature of the Earth. There's something in Latin, there's a Latin phrase called the justum generis rule, where if you get a list of things and they're all of the same type, you can exclude the thing that's not of the same type because it fouls the justum generis rule. So if you're going to argue that the curvature of the Earth is non-standard refraction, you're fouling the justum generis rule. And I can come back with some examples of the justum generis rule if you really want to. But for example, if I said Alsatians, Dalmatians, Rottweilers, and Dobermans, and then I said poodle, even though they're dogs, they're not the same type. So poodles would foul the justum generis rule. Equally, if you said like all the dogs' names and then said cat, that wouldn't be the same either. So essentially, if you're going to argue that light bends in accordance with the non-standard refraction, look at the list of things that they give for the non-standard refraction, and bending of light around the curve of the Earth is not one of them. Now, it requires Snell's law for it to even work, but there's no medium change when you're looking through the same terrestrial gas that we live in. There is no medium change. All you have is an isotropic, non-homogeneous medium that is the same medium, and the variables are minuscule. That's why the effects of refraction are negligible, and in the absence of anything non-standard, there is no evidence of anything other than Fata Morgana's inferior mirage, Fata Brumosa. They're the actual effects that are described as non-standard, and we don't see that. So ultimately, one.
I said scintillation. Sorry to interrupt you, Anthony.
Yeah. So ultimately, you can't even say that the curve of the Earth is non-standard refraction because it fouls the Justum Generis rule. And I'm going to cite that against you all the time for every time that you try doing it because it's not of the same type. It's completely different. Right, that's me done.
Cool. Ranty, you ready?
No way. No, not yet.
No,
I'm
okay.
trying to get a composite together of this, of the Welsh mountain ranges, so it might take another half an hour or so.
No worries. Right, I will put the link out now then. Prepare for Troll Madness for 5 minutes.
I believe A4 wants to join.
Again?
I believe A4 wants to join.
Well, give it 60 seconds, refresh your page. Right, the link is now public. Prepare for troll infestation. See
Come
you
on,
all
Chris.
on Skype.
Chris can do it. Chris can get in. Fastest finger first. No will be there for sure. Jim Benson.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll just get A4 in a conversation. We shall see.
That would be nice for a change, wouldn't it? Just for once.
Let's be honest, they're getting battered at the moment. So it's logical to presume that the correlation between getting battered is equal to or representative of the amount that they're getting battered.
We're watching you.
Yeah, they definitely tend to swarm when they're getting battered.
Chocolate says he's going to try and join. So I'll just have a quick look on his channel and see if it's the same
It'd be good
guy.
if, like Anthony suggested yesterday, we just get a load of placeholders, even if you're not necessarily going to participate a great deal. Participate a great deal. Nathan didn't shout me out. Shout out to A4. Hi, Alan.
Hello.
Hello.
Never fear, Alan's here.
We never do.
Rude.
Oh.
How are we doing today, Alan?
Not bad, just having a cup of tea, looking out the window.
How are you finding our presentations today? Are they enlightening you any, or are you still firmly on the ball?
I think your demonstrations of the curve are fantastic.
Wonderful.
Always the best. Proving the curve with every video.
Do you like the wind turbines in the water?
Yes. Although you ought to visit Jessup's and get a sun filter.
Oh, what? Sorry.
Sun filter.
Oh right, it's a bit orange. I can agree with you on that.
I was going to say, very good advice.
A4. I get the feeling that's going to be a sock.
But I believe Sean Hufford had a bit of a problem recently.
Yeah, I saw a Flat Earth Math. Hi, the one true
Because
Morty. Yeah, Flat Earth
I
Math
think
did a
someone
video.
passed away.
Yeah, his dad passed away. Sorry to hear that, Sean. Condolences.
Yeah, that sucks.
You do realise if one of our parents died, there would be a troll account with the name.
Yeah.
But whereas we would hold out an olive branch, you know, they would do
I will
the
have to go and
opposite.
do to Sean. Lying little toe rag.
Friendly here.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Good to have you.
Just saving a spot, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm always in the chat hanging around, so I'll be listening.
Oh, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining. Nice
No
fish.
problem. I'll mute myself.
I'll put your thumb on so people can see the fish you've got. That's cool.
Yep. Thank you.
Right, so Mr. Gonzalez joined the chat. Who's that?
I've been with Flutter for about a year and a half. I've been following you guys. I kind of caught out on you at the Isle of Man a few months ago, and
what I mean
I've been
is
following you every day. I even did a shout out video for you guys like a week ago.
What I mean is I don't even see you in the back chat. Ranty, do you see him in the back chat?
Hi, Chocolate. Good to have you. Some people don't. Some people have got old accounts and don't appear. Don't worry about it.
Mr. Gonzalez, yeah, I see Mr. Gonzalez in there. Nice that you gave us a shout out too as well.
Yeah, I was just going to
the
say
Isle
thanks
of
a
Man
million.
this month, it's going to be, and probably for the next few months, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, but there's going to be an awful lot of claims of exceptional weather conditions and exceedingly cold seas and extremely hot atmospheres to explain why we can see stuff that simply should not be there. And I mean, I don't like citing Occam's razor because it seems to be too convenient, but ultimately you have to do an awful lot of shit layering to be able to persuade somebody that your version of shit is true. Well, we see it because it's there, right? How easy do you want it?
Flutter confirmed every single show, every single observation from yourself, Ranty. Sandra is awesome. I mean, it's obviously observably flat. There's no ways around it.
Alex Quaint says, wasn't impressed that Sean used the sad moment to raise cash. Isn't this on the back of a cash raiser that he had with regards to that drone? So he's done 2 fundraisers recently, right? Is that right?
Absolutely disgusting, I think so, yeah. Hit the super chat if you're enjoying the show.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Smash that super chat. I just find it interesting that he's done two and he whinges like people that like me that he thinks are disingenuous, yet he does it himself. And I've never asked for a penny, ever. I don't have a monetized account, unlike him. I don't e-beg, unlike Nathan. I mean, unlike Sean. I just find that he's so hypocritical, it's unbelievable. So condolences for your dad. I'm sorry that you lost your dad, but stop e-begging your Burke.
Okay, right.
Or at least stop criticizing other people that you think are, if you're doing it yourself.
You're a hard man, Tony.
Well, he's a prick. He tells lies about me, and I've got no real interest in him. Glenn McIntosh, you're basing all this on you being right. I'm pretty sure you are not.
Oh, sorry, I can't go without saying this because I levelled this at Dawn Treader when he was saying similar things about Dell. So it sounds like you're a big fan, actually.
Well, I would never. When was the last time I spoke about Sean? The only reason he got mentioned was because Branty mentioned him.
Got me there. It's been a while.
It's just drama. Who cares? Whatever.
Exactly. Who cares?
Ian Matterson, Hufford is like a magician. He uses misdirection all the time. Yep. Misquotes, misspeaks, misrepresentations. He does indeed do that.
So we've got about an hour left on this live stream. Hope you're all enjoying the debate thus far, or the presentations, as the link's only just gone public. But if you did want to join the debate, be sure to mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you'd like to support this channel, as we've mentioned it quite a bit, hit the super chat, which runs alongside each of these shows while it's live. But there's also a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. So yeah. If you do join the panel, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Massive thanks to all who've shared already. Massive 165 people. Wow, that is quite a few people watching at the moment, so massive thanks to all who shared. Please share if you've not done so already. As I say, there is about an hour left on this live stream. Did that intimidate everyone? I mentioned there's 165 people watching and it's all gone quiet.
165 people in that case. I'm dissing Sean because he claims that he had an ex parte hearing with a judge who he claims told him that he wouldn't, quote, set a precedent for an extradition on the grounds of insanity for defamation of character, unquote. So
that was a whole lot of words right there.
Why we dissing Sean? I'm dissing him for that reason because he's a liar.
That was a lot of words.
Yeah. He thinks that he could use legalese against me, but I understood exactly what he was talking about and I realised he's talking out his bottom. There's no extradition to the UK, to the US from the UK on civil matters. It's only on serious crime and it's only against the government.
So let me get this straight. Sean claimed that he was going to have you extradited to the US for defamation of his character. Is that correct?
Sean claims he had an ex parte hearing with a judge. Ex parte means outside the courtroom, usually in chambers. But Sean claims he had an ex parte hearing with a judge who said, and who the judge told him that he, quote, didn't want to set a precedent for a defamation of character case on the grounds of insanity. And he wanted extradition, apparently. So basically, Sean believes that the American legal system is able to extradite a UK national to America for a defamation of character case on the grounds of insanity. That's what he was trying for, apparently. Well, I understood all that. I understood exactly what he said. I did misspeak slightly when I last spoke about it. I did get one element of it wrong, but the bulk of it was right. And the main point is that defamation of character is a civil matter. It's known as the rich man's tort for a good reason. It's extremely expensive, and you have to show that you had a loss. Well, when me and Sean were having our back and forth, Sean gained subs, probably because he was having the fight with me. Sean benefited, and now he's going to monetize the account. He's capitalizing out of it, essentially. And a lot of that was on the back of hating me. So Sean didn't suffer any loss whatsoever. Sean gained. But even if he did suffer a loss, the idea that you can be extradited to the USA from the UK on the basis
Dave,
of a civil matter.
Is that a troll account,
hello.
Dave?
Ridiculous.
Hi, Dave.
Heyo.
Good to have you.
This is bloody weird.
A sunny day in Toronto, right, Nummy?
Yep.
I feel you.
You're in Toronto as well?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sitting outside in my backyard and just glorious. I'm loving it. Things
All
are
right. Anyway, didn't want to interrupt Riley there.
I got it. No, I was just bashing Sean. Let's change the topipic and not mention his name ever again because it's not worth it on this channel. So.
I mean, it is slightly flat Earth because it's. It is and it isn't. Anyway, moving on.
I'd love to be extradited to America. I'm sure I'd be treated better as an American prisoner of the system than I am by being an English citizen.
I thought you were going to say by being in an English prison.
We need to get rid of this bloody conservative government in our countries.
Can we keep it shape of the Earth related?
Here, here, Tony. Here, here.
I've got to shout out Cathexis. I know this is.
I've been loving it
topic,
too. I'm glad you've shouted out Cathexis because I've been watching a lot of him on Easter's show, and he's just fantastic.
I love how he's got this perception that he's so worried about England. He's worried that our English. I mean, yeah, I get some of what he says in terms of he's worried about England, but he's totally worried about England for all the wrong reasons. So shout out to Cathexis. I love the perception of the American against the English in terms of the way we're being treated. No, we're just being stolen from by our government, and it's as simple as that. It doesn't go any more further than that. But his perceptions are great. So shout out to Cathexis.
It's all the same shit, really.
Yeah, we're all being raped financially. I'm just so glad we don't have a NASA space program. I know we have the foreign aid budget, but I'm just glad we didn't have a NASA space program because that would make me so angry.
Well, you may as well. The truth of it.
Well, we do contribute to the European Space Agency, but thankfully they don't do much space exploration because I think it's all pretty much been explored and there's nothing left to do.
It's a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
And nothing left to do.
Yeah, nothing. I love reading these articles by like NASA, pro NASA agencies that say they found another 362 exoplanets that are trillions and trillions of miles away. And I'm like, really?
Well, that's just a complete joke and there's no evidence of that by any standard. Even if you accept all the rest of their crap, how could they ever prove that? It's just absurd amounts of speculation on top
Is that a
of
real P Mars? Hey P.
Yeah, hey,
Hey, good to have you.
Cathexis told me Fanny Lancer was gay, and Fanny Lancer was trying to hit on Cathexis, but it was all a big lie.
This is just random backdoor gossip. I'm not
What-
interested in this.
Why do you think Cathexis would lie about someone being
who
gay?
cares?
Like that's a
Who
weird
cares?
thing to lie about.
Literally,
Who
who's
cares?
banging who? It's not
Who
interesting. Who cares? So let's quick
Why are you
random
talking
search
about
of the brain for
what?
something flat Earth. So Anthony
I just-
mentioned that
I
it was
just,
on.
like,
It was
you
on
retarded?
TV. Hold on,
Well, I
P.
just wondering because he's like talking about someone being gay, and then I asked Fanny
cares?
Lancer, and Fanny Lancer
Who
explained the thing that wasn't
cares?
true.
Who cares?
So I'm
It's
just like,
so random.
Why would someone lie about something like that?
Yeah,
Who
but
cares?
if you lie about it, right? What
Who
difference does it
cares?
make anyway?
All's fair in love and war, P. Who
Why do you
cares?
care about other people's who's hitting on who? And
Do you guys care? Do you guys care if NASA lies?
Yeah,
Yeah, we care
because
if
it's
NASA lies.
directly related to
But
the shape of the Earth.
You don't care if like flat Earth proponents lie?
Yes.
Yeah, we care if flat Earth proponents lie.
Wait, what? Okay, so does it matter if people lie or not?
Yes,
It
it
matters,
matters, but not when it comes to
So-
things like love or sex or sexuality. That I couldn't care less. It's not
Or
shape of the Earth
cocaine, or
related. It's
hookers.
just down to people.
We don't give a shit.
It's just non-related to this
But he
subject.
just like completely made up a story. Like, why would
why
someone
do you
do that?
care? Let me ask you, why do you care? Why
No
do you
one's interested if someone's
Well,
gay.
like, NASA made up a story about going to the
does it
moon.
matter to you at all?
Right, but
Cathexis
if
made up a story
okay, that's
about
true.
someone on
P, just give me
YouTube
1 second.
flirting
If
with
there was a
them.
story about a gay astronaut, it wouldn't be relevant, right? In the same way this isn't relevant. So yeah, there might be sidelines
Really?
about the sexual orientation of astronauts, which would not be related in the slightest.
What about Lisa Nowak? Is that relevant when she
don't know who
wore
that is.
diapers? and
No
wrote
idea
to
who
her
that is.
Lovers?
Don't care either.
Really, it's not relevant.
Well,
I'll tell you what is
A
relevant as a
person, an
lie.
individual,
The
not
bullshit
related to the
claiming
shape
that
of
he's
the
been
Earth.
to space.
I just think it's weird to like for someone to lie about something like that. Like, I wonder what purpose.
Okay,
is
there's
the
no way to
lie,
shut you
know
up.
what I'm
Let's
saying?
just ask
Maybe
you,
it was to
what do you
troll
want,
you
P?
people.
What is it that you want out of this? Let's put the shoe on your foot. What are you trying to achieve? What do you want?
I want to get down to the purpose of like why Cathexis lies.
He was trolling you.
No, let's not give him an answer. He's not here to ask, and we have no idea of the intentions or whether or not what he said was a lie. Does that answer your question, P?
I think Cathexis is really manipulative and like I
Well,
feel like
so
I
you're
was
just here to smear Cathexis. That's what it seems like you're here for, P. I mean, no offense, mate, but I'm really not interested in you just coming here to smear people. You know, do it on your own channel. So yeah, so Flat Earth was on TV this morning. There you go. Rack my brains quickly to bring us back on track.
Yeah,
Oh,
shout,
yeah.
shout out to Gary. Shout out to Gary that was on there this morning with Phil Schofield. He was on with Darren Nesbitt and who was the other guy? I can't remember the third guy. Oh, the black guy. I can't remember the guy's
Black
name.
guy? Do you mean Martin?
No, Martin. Who?
You don't know his name?
No. You know about Martin Leakey?
No.
I don't know the guy's name. No.
It was a pretty good little show, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Darren Nesbitt did all right. Not bad. A lot of pressure to show up be on live TV, and I think he handled it fairly well.
It was
I'd be
Dave
nervous as
Murphy.
hell if
Did
I
you-
was in that
according to
position.
the chat, it was Dave Murphy. Dave Murphy was on BBC TV. Wow.
No, Yorkshire.
Yorkshire TV. I don't know. I don't even have a TV. This is all secondhand to me. Which station was it on, Anthony?
Yorkshire has its own BBC.
They all do. Every single region has its own BBC derivative. So after the main news for about 5 minutes, they'll cut to the local news. And the local news stations also produce stories that occasionally make it on the main news and vice versa. So there's just lots of BBCs dotted around all over the country.
Yeah, I just said that because I knew it would make Alan laugh.
It was great. I enjoyed it.
But there is a BBC Yorkshire.
Manchester.
Yeah, there is.
Is it Manchester? Okay, BBC Manchester.
And they're all regional because we all have big hills that are relatively like dividing up the country, and obviously the masts are on the big hills, and that which they call regions is governed by the mast that you connect your telly to when you get your signal. Similar to how mobile phones work and satellite communications.
Satellites don't exist, Anthony.
I said the communications.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm just screwing around with you.
I
Tony.
shocked my. Sorry, you go ahead.
For the record, the black guy, as you say, is called Martin Kenny.
Kenny. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
not
right.
Dave Murphy
I couldn't
then.
remember what his name was, but they were really good.
I laughed.
Phil Schofield saying that he could see it on Concorde was hilarious. Because it's like, how do you respond to that? You have to literally call him a liar, which is kind of what Holly Willoughby did. She said, "Are you saying he's lying?" And Gary says, "Not lying, no, but yeah."
Seems like a lot of people have this kind of like false memory syndrome of seeing the curve out of planes. Because I was talking to my cousin, and he was like, he was pretty open to the idea, and like he understood a lot of the arguments, particularly about because we live on Lake Ontario, and he drives by the lake every day, and I was like, you shouldn't be able to see the other side of the lake like you always can. And he's like, yeah, you always can. And but then he had this apparent memory of having seen the curvature just out of a normal commercial flight. And a lot of people I've talked to, I think that people actually have these kind of false memories of seeing the curve because I just took like a few flights last month, and yeah, you definitely can't see the curve from a commercial airline, 35, 40,000 feet in the air. So
You seen Wolfie's new video?
Nah, no one watches Wolf.
these videos.
You can see it. You can see the curve there from 43,000 feet.
You should be able to see
Probably out of the curved window of his
commercial
plane.
airliner.
I don't consider that guy to be. I don't think that guy's playing. I don't think that guy's really fully honest. I don't think he has fully integrated honesty in his work.
I agree. If it was the case that you could see curvature, right? A commercial, according to Google Earth, the model that you guys now denounce, you should see, according to the sphere shape, you should see the curvature prominently at 30,000 feet. And nobody anywhere has ever seen it yet. Everybody thinks that we live in a ball. But when you were saying about your mind can play tricks on you, about making you have phantom perceptions, if let's say there's three of us in a room, right, and we're watching a bank robbery take place, we will all see the same thing.
How many ice creams do we have?
We've all got 2 ice creams each.
Great.
I have -2 ice creams.
Yeah, I've got 4.
You owe me 3 apples.
2 ice creams. But anyway, point is, if we all see the same event, when we come to recollect or represent our views to the police in the form of a statement, the inaccuracies that we all would present on paper are high. Because one guy would say there was 3 blokes and a girl, and then another guy might say, well, no, it was 2 blokes and 2 girls. And then one guy will say, no, there was 5. There was a driver. And it's really quick how easy people don't really regurgitate stuff accurately when you would expect them to have full knowledge of it, even though they all watched the same event.
It's about 46%, Tony.
Pardon?
It's about 46%.
46% what?
The accuracy of witnesses.
Eyewitness testing, yeah. And if you want to read into sort of the legal perspective of why the accuracy of eyewitness solo eyewitness testimony is treated with high caution in the legal system because of the factors that influence and like limit and control people's memory and ability to. What it is, the brain fills in the gaps.
Unless you're a police officer.
Unless you're a police officer, what?
Then your testimony is regarded higher.
If you're, the police officer's testimony is regarded as true unless it can be disproven.
Right.
But if you look at the what's the name of them now? Look at the Turnbull guidelines for accepting evidence at criminal trials. The Turnbull guidelines read out, I think it's 6 guidelines that say things like, well, how far? What was the proximity of the witness? What was the light like? Were there any shadows? all these factors that influence. And basically, if you're the eyewitness, the one sole eyewitness, and the prosecution's case relies on your witness ability to regurgitate, they will go through something called the Turnbull guidelines that will direct the jury to say, right, although this guy says that he saw the curvature of the earth, these are the things that you've got to consider. How close was he? Is he good sighted anyway? Was he wearing spectacles? And these are all the things that they apply. So the Turnbull guidelines would be my version of like real world. I would say, well, if someone's been on a plane, we could apply similar guidelines to the Turnbull guidelines and ask similar kind of questions and make it subject to the answers to the questions. So we can basically vet and challenge the person that claims that they've seen the curvature on the plane by applying the Turnbull guidelines. But I think that's for another day.
Yeah, well, I think my cousin on it, like, I was having a pretty good and honest discussion with him, and I think he honestly believed that he remembered seeing the curvature. But in fact, when I sort of brought this up with him, he kind of started to second guess whether that was even the case, right? I think that you have to go up there. If you're not looking at it critically when you look, your memory is not going to be nearly as clear. I think if you're looking at it with a mind to, see if you can see the curvature or not, then you're going to have a clearer memory of what you saw.
Let me just read the guidelines, the Turnbull guidelines. There's only 7 bullet points and they're really close, really short sentences. It says the Turnbull guidelines, were the case against an accused, in this case, it would be the guy that claims he can see the curvature of the earth from a plane, depends wholly or substantially on the correctness of one or more identifications of the accused, in this case, the curvature, which the defense alleges to be mistaken, in other words, us. The judge should warn the jury, which is the people that are watching, the special need for caution before convicting. And then it says the judge should tell the jury that 1, caution is required to avoid the risk of injustice. A witness who is honest may be wrong, even if they are convinced that they are right. A witness who is convincing may still be wrong. More than one witness may be wrong. A witness who recognizes the defendant, even when the witness knows the defendant very well, may also be wrong. The length of time the accused was... the judge then should direct the jury to examine the circumstances in which the identification by each witness can be made. Some of the circumstances may include the length of time the accused was observed by the witness, the distance the witness was from the accused, the state of the light, and the length of time elapsed between the original observation and any subsequent identification by the police. So basically, this is the legal process that somebody that claims the curvature of the earth really would be put against with regards to what they think. And I would say that somebody that believes that they've seen the curvature is, quote, a witness who is honest but may well still be wrong, even if they are convinced they are right. That's what I would be applying against that Phil Schofield guy, because he probably does believe it.
What happens if the witness has video footage?
Then that's a different element, isn't it?
No.
We're talking
it's
about
not a different element, because in that
testimony
case, the witness would be... Hold on. The witness would be presupposing the curve's there to begin with, and then digging out calculations that presuppose there's a curve there to prove there's a curve there, Alan.
If only I understood that.
Let me explain it again. So you have presuppositional arguments. It's called begging the question, where you presuppose the outcome before you actually try and prove the thing you're trying to prove. In other words, you say there's a curve there before you've actually proved there's any curve there. So you say 76R. Well, the R in 76R is the radius, something that is unproven, and you presuppose it is there and then start mathematically formulating how much refraction should bend around that presupposed R.
And if the video shows curve?
It doesn't.
Well, that's not the point.
Well, yeah, it's the point. You show me where there's curvature. Show me one of these videos, and then you'll go, well, that's this, that, and the other obstructed. It's like, no. Show me actual curve. Oh, no, well, we don't get to see it in that fashion. It's like, well, why not? Well, because you don't see very much x-axis curvature. We can calculate for it by pixel, but what we see a lot of is obstruction. Something that is also accountable by perspective.
Or that if it's from I think he's talking about from a plane, right, Alan?
Correct.
So yeah, I bet you, I would bet you it's out of like a very curved window.
Here we go.
No, well, I'm just saying, I predict that there's going to be a highly curved window, or that what we're going to be looking at in terms of the horizon is just cloud, and that the cloud is not laying perfectly horizontal because the cloud layers are not there's variations in the level of the height of the clouds. One of those two things.
You guys have an excuse for everything.
I don't have I haven't seen the video yet. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
So why don't you put the video on screen now, and we'll see if I'm right.
Hold on.
Or that, it might be that the camera is also barrel distortion or something like that. One of those things. There's a lot of factors to consider. What? So you don't think we should have any kind of, we should approach this critically at all, right, Alan B? If we see a curve, any kind of curve in the image, well, then it's a curve. It doesn't matter if they were using a fisheye lens. Is that that's your approach to it?
I don't know. Honestly,
if we're going to have an honest look at the evidence, we're going to have to consider all the factors that go into producing the image. So we don't have an excuse for everything. We actually just try to look at it objectively. Unlike you ballers who just are like, oh, curve, yeah, yay, curve. Doesn't matter if it's a fisheye lens, curve. Look, curve. Like, you guys are so disingenuous, so intellectually dishonest. It's not even funny.
It's funny to Alan.
Fantastic.
It's true. It's true. You are. That's how you guys are.
You want an example, Alan?
I'm just searching.
Well, while you're searching, so we have an instance of exactly this. So on Tim Osman's presentation, he's using a wide-angle lens on the drone that he uses, and you have a perfect reflection. I'm willing to bet
you don't know that. What?
Well, we looked up the specs. You told us what it was. So anyway, moving on. So
post the specs. I'll tell you if it's wide angle.
They don't have notes to the effect of the specs of his drone, but we established that it was a wide-angled lens.
So you don't know?
He admitted and accepted it, so I don't really see the problem.
Generally speaking, they do have wide-angle lenses on drones. That's fairly standard fare, actually. Nonetheless, yeah. So anyway, my point was going to be that I'm in no doubt that you could measure some x-axis curvature on the expanse of land that he had, yet you have a perfect reflection, not a distorted reflection that matches the curve that you would actually measure if you were to put a ruler up against it.
Here we go. Here we go.
Nathan, can you share Alan's screen?
I put the link in the chat thing.
Yeah, let's see this. Let's watch it.
It's only a minute.
So, Alan, do you think that if we put a fisheye lens on a balloon and then we go up and see curvature, that proves the Earth is curved? Is that good enough for you?
Well, you can take the curve out from the lens, the distortion.
But do you think it would be more honest experiment to use a lens that didn't distort the?
Well, there's plenty of footage that doesn't use a GoPro.
He's looking through the front of the plane, so unless you're going to suggest for 1 second that the screen of that plane does not curve around the full front of the plane, then there's going to be a distortion there. I mean, what I saw was.
Put it on screen, please. Are you putting it on there? Let's just see, because that's what I said. It's going to be a curved glass. I knew it, so I want to let's just show this to the audience because it's just ridiculous. This is just a joke.
I'm not seeing anything. What's going on?
It's all right. It's just because I only presented it to the audience, but I'll stick it up for you guys. It's no worries. Just give me 30 seconds.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that.
It's all right. No worries.
This is just a complete joke, these ballers. They're with their curvature footage. It's just ridiculous. They're just playing games. They can't even be honest with themselves.
Oh yeah, it looks curvy on the right-hand side. Oh, this is the sundog footage, is it?
No, look, he's looking through like a rounded window.
Look, you can even see it at the bottom. Hold on, I'm just going to go back to that.
The window distorting the image. This is such a joke. It's so predictable, too.
Isn't it interesting that Wolfie doesn't take any other... well, I don't even know that... I'm not actually going to say that because I don't actually watch anything of Wolfie's, but I don't know how any pilot could not realise that the Earth's not a ball. including Wolfie. I can only assume that Wolfie is actually disingenuous.
So he's actually saying that this is proving the curvature of the Earth. What a joke! Look
Is
through
this,
a bubble, see the curve, and then the Earth is curved.
So we're literally looking through a
this is
curved
Wolfie.
piece of
This is-
glass.
this
Can you
is-
see that,
this
Alan?
is this guy.
Hold on. Let's
This
just
is
see if
their,
Alan can you see that, Alan?
Hello?
Do you see the curve in the glass?
Well, that's just the frame.
It's the curve of the front of the plane.
Just the frame.
Okay, so the other problem we've got is it seems to be curving upwards in this frame.
Well, do you imagine all window screens are straight, Nathan?
Sorry, if you're going to use this as proof of Earth curve and then say, well, I accept that the window's curved, and what kind of crap proof is this?
Do you not consider aerodynamics when flying a plane? It's pretty important.
I'm not arguing the
not consider
aerodynamics.
lenses?
We're talking about the thing we're seeing through the curved glass, aren't we?
You go.
That's called a red
Lorenzo,
herring.
Are you crazy?
You've just used a red herring. So who gives a crap how aerodynamic the plane is if we're looking through a curved piece of glass? It could be on a tower at the height, not moving at all. If it had curved glass, the effect would be the same. The aerodynamics is irrelevant. It's a red herring.
That's just absolutely hilarious that he would write "Flat Earth Nightmare" on there. I mean, this Wolfie guy is a joke. The guy
Yeah,
is completely dishonest. Like, this is why I don't hold him in high regard. Like, when
Him and Soundly are the same mold.
you put something like that up, then why would I believe his silly Etvos effect thing where he could have just been anywhere with his silly little scale experiments? I mean, this guy clearly doesn't have an intellectually honest bone in his body. It's ridiculous.
Oh dear.
I'd agree with him.
Is that supposed to be a cockpit view?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? So doesn't it seem logical that, for the safety of the pilots and all the passengers involved, they would not have glass that's distorted? Otherwise, if you can't see where you're going because you're getting skewed by the glass, like the glass has to be, visually accurate or not
No, 'cause they
distorting.
rely on-
Otherwise, you don't know where you're going.
No, they rely on flight instruments for
Well, not for the last landings, and you're driving around the tarmac. It's like, ooh, I hit the building because, hey, the glass screwed up my vision. Like that's not right.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think
if you have curved glass, it's going to distort the light coming through it. That's obvious. There's no way around it. And they when they're doing landings and things like that, they rely almost solely on the avionics. And you can look that up in the flight manual, and it will verify exactly what I'm saying.
yeah, on the gyroscope actually.
Let me just respond to Flat Question.
Well, I'll
Don't
put it
know
up.
what you're
He
talking
actually
about
shows
there,
it.
Dave.
So they do a thing called the scan, and they do it consistently throughout the entire flight. They constantly check every single instrument, and he does it as part of his video. He completes a scan of the instrumentation while he's doing it. So, he's doing all the normal stuff that you would expect him to do. Therefore, you get to see his scan, and there's all the avionics, as Nami says, that he's actually relying upon.
Yeah,
There it
pilots rarely
Dave,
rely upon a literal view of the outside.
Dave, I suggest that you just do like
Fighter
a
pilots.
tiny little bit of research into flight procedures and how planes are actually.
Well, my cousin's a commercial airline pilot. I could ask him.
Yeah, maybe you should ask him before you come and make such ridiculous claims in this chat. That would help, because then you probably wouldn't have done it, right? Because
Just don't ever take a flight off of when Nummy's driving.
They're not using instrumentation on the ground when they're traveling on the tarmac and stuff.
Yeah, I know that. What
So
are you even trying to
therefore
say?
they're relying on what they visually see through the glass.
Right, we can cope with it as humans, yeah? We can compensate for it. But when you just present it via a camera on a 2D screen, what you get is what you see. And there's no compensation for it based on difference of distance, like your eyes would do when you're processing this on the fly there and then. We get a 2D presentation from a camera phone or whatever he's using.
True.
And I mean, he's panning around. Anyways, whatever. This is just silly. Like you don't know what you're talking about at all. It's clear.
I'm sorry, it's so easy debunkable. If you can see that the image he put, you see the very pronounced curve going down in the right-hand side, right? So if you turn around and keep looking through the passenger side, you should keep seeing the curve going down, down, down. If you look from the back of the plane, you shouldn't even see the horizon. It should be down in your feet.
Right.
I mean, really?
Exactly. The curve that he
ridiculous.
sees, if that's to be believed, absolutely correct. That would continue, and then as you got to the to the back of the plane, looking as as far as you could out of the back window, you wouldn't see anything because there'd be ball below you based on the curve that he's showing. It's nonsense. You'll have a horizon out of every window. It'll be the same through every window. If it looks to curve as you twist your camera through a curved piece of glass, that's irrelevant. I've done the same thing. I've been on enough flights to know how you can get it to look curved. But after you look at it with a little bit of critical thinking and actually look at what you're looking at from both sides of the planes, you realise that you're just seeing a little bit of distortion in the glass. It's very straightforward. The amount of times I spent on a plane, it's one of the things I've detailed in loads of video logs, loads of different discussions with people about flat Earth. I used to go on lots and lots and lots of flights. And the amount of time spent looking out the window going, I wish I could see a curve, knowing full well that they tell you can't until you go considerably higher. Contrary to what should actually happen, you should see huge amounts of curve from an airliner. You don't.
Silence.
I'm stunned.
When you check your airplane window, you need to check if the view is fishy or not.
Anyway, shout out to Multi-Tom Tom.
Haven't seen Skyfly Bry for a while. He makes videos from planes. Flat Earther, just giving the same, no disrespect to him, but it's the same sort of thing. You can't take his observations as proof, and you can't take Wolfie's as proof.
Yeah, I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, guys.
I don't think the guy's intellectually honest at all, personally.
He's obviously supporting his own belief and doesn't require a lot.
Yeah, another dogmatic zealot of the globe Earth cult.
Hey, can you guys hear me at all?
Barely.
How do you feel about what Wolfie wrote, though, in that video about the clouds are beneath him and illuminated from below?
I didn't notice that.
How's that happening? How does that happen on a flat Earth?
It's just perspective.
They're probably not really illuminated from below. They're just illuminated, and they look like they're illuminated from below because they're thinner than the other clouds that surround them or something like that. I mean, there's lots of different possible explanations for why those clouds might appear that way.
It's very hard to distinguish, really,
Hi,
on
Numi.
what side a cloud is being lit up in the far distance. It's very
Numi.
hard to see.
Yeah?
In your world, is everybody else wrong?
No. But I mean, it's a case by case. You have to take these things on a case by case basis, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you've got nothing, and you just say everything else is wrong.
What do you mean I've got nothing?
You've got no evidence, no map.
Now that
No pictures. Nothing, no working model.
I'm not claiming to have any of that stuff.
Model.
How can I
the
be
moon
wrong?
landing,
If I don't make a claim, I can't be wrong about a claim I didn't make.
But what gives you the authority to say everything's wrong when you've got nothing?
I don't
hang
know.
on, what makes you think that you've got something?
I never said everything was wrong. I'm talking about specific things as they come up.
So, Alan, do you live here then? Alan, you got proof that you live in here? Really? Come on, tell me the truth. What you got,
No,
brother?
got any proof to live on
Nick.
that.
What's going
Look at
on,
that.
big fish guy?
Nobody has
Do
any
you
proof.
got any proof that you're living here in one of these? This is your model. Do you think the world look like this?
Look like what?
That's laughable. Like a spinning ball Earth, really?
Sure.
Really? Wow. Just wow.
Have you accepted
Hey,
it
Alan,
Sad.
as belief
scientific
yet, Alan?
evidence.
Have you accepted it as a belief yet?
It's not a belief. It's
Oh,
based on
really?
evidence.
It is.
You
What
have
evidence?
proof, Alan, do you?
What
Yes.
NASA? Is NASA your evidence? Yeah. That's
I
your
can't. Nobody uses NASA against you guys. You don't
So what do you
believe anything.
use? Let's
so.
see your proof of Ball Earth.
So what's your proof of ball Earth, Alan?
Shall we talk about Polaris?
That begs the question. You assume the distance to the sun and you assume you're on a sphere.
Here we
That's begging
go.
the question. We went through this earlier, Alan.
Hello, Quantum Eraser. Nice to hear your voice.
Do you not understand what begging the question is? Would you like me to explain it to you?
Oh, are you going to channel Quantum Eraser again?
No,
The
I'm
religious
sat here,
slur.
Quantum Eraser isn't, and I'm asking you if you would like me to explain why that is begging the question on 2 counts.
Go on, man. Off you go.
Right,
Read
so
the script.
you assume the distance to the sun. You do not know what the distance to the sun is. Number 1. Number 2, you assume that you're on a sphere that is rotating around the sun. So that is 2 assumptions that you base all of your... Sorry, my kid gets excited when I'm talking like this. That is what you will base your assumptions on when you are making these observations. For example, you will say, at this time of the year we see it here, and when we are on the other side of the sun we see it here. So you beg the question and automatically assume that you are travelling around the sun.
Finished?
No, I want you to say, yes, I understand that begs the question, and just asserts my belief into a presuppositional position.
No.
Toast to the fire, toast to the fire.
That was funny, Tony. Well done. Light relief.
So do you accept that you are going to beg the question and presuppose the outcome?
No, I don't, Quantum Eraser. Oh, sorry, Nathan.
Right, why not? Do you have proof of the distance to the sun or that the Earth is a sphere?
I have no proof of anything.
So
and
therefore
anything
your
you say is
observations
wrong.
of the lights in the sky which will rely on those 2 things are meaningless nonsense, Alan, and do not prove your belief.
Nathan, everything you say is wrong.
Wrong. Everything you assume is incorrect because it is based on assumption, Alan. You assume you are on a sphere, you assume you know the distance to the celestial body, and you extrapolate everything out from there using those baseline assumptions. Assumptions that you believe to be true.
You believe other people's interpretations of the reality you live in, which is obviously observable flat. You cannot look up at the stars and tell where you live because of you see something. No, not really.
By the way, I just want to interrupt briefly for a sec. Nathan, do you remember when the Rumpus said that he had a hangout, a private hangout that he said he would release once the evidence went public? I believe, this is what I'm told from my reliable source, that there was never actually a hangout. It never even happened.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, a bit of a problem there, isn't there, Rumpus? You got what you're going to release now that the evidence is out when you said that you would release the evidence of the hangout that you said you would add, and there isn't one.
So I guess that my last prediction came true as well.
What was that one?
Despite being able to back engineer your footage, he just couldn't get it to work because it was that bizarre.
Yeah, because there's that much of it, right?
I listened to that hangout, though.
Hangout's currently full and orthodox, unfortunately.
You listen to what hangout?
The one where John and Rumpus said they're never coming on this show again.
John and Rumpus said that they're never coming on this show.
Yep,
Is this a hangout that happened on this channel or a hangout on a different channel?
different channel.
So you're claiming that John, as in Quantum Eraser?
No, John the physicist. Is it John? John the New Zealand physicist?
Do you
Physics
mean?
guy?
Do you mean what's his name? Philip?
Yes, Philip, sorry.
Oh, right. Philip said he's never coming back on the show again. Oh, well, I'm not surprised. We're going to ask him what evidences he's got. I wouldn't want to come on if I was Philip's in Philip's position.
Me neither.
Oh,
I've been waiting to point out that Philip's gone AWOL, and now we're finding out that apparently he's saying he won't come on. That's fascinating.
Damn, what a shame.
I'm not surprised. If I
Damn.
was in Philip, I wouldn't want to come on. I mean, did you see the debate with the physicists at the FE Core event at the weekend, the convention?
Is that available?
I believe it's on. It is around somewhere. I can't remember where it is, but ultimately they were asked, why do gyroscopes not show the curvature or the rotation of the Earth? And there was a tumbleweed that blew through, and they basically said that we don't specialize in gyroscopes yet. They had the questions pre-disclosed to them before they had the event. They had nothing, and I was like, really? Physicists can't explain the gyroscopes. I mean, granted, they were kids, like they weren't like established in their field, but nonetheless, there should be
There
some.
you go then, Tony. 3 kids.
Interesting. So they didn't even bring up the pendular veins thing.
No, the tumbleweed blew through the room and everybody got whipped out. With that the pressure differential that creates the vacuum. That was the naturally formed vacuum. A tumbleweed through the room and pulled everybody out with it.
Did you see that with your own eyes there?
Yeah, it was recorded. If there's anybody that wants to drop, there's a guy called Unorthodox that wants to join. So any of the placeholders that want to drop, if you wouldn't mind dropping and then letting Unorthodox
drop.
join.
I'm
Good
out.
man.
I'll drop. I'll keep listening.
Thank you very much, sir. Unorthodox, if you try
Very
now.
kind of you, sir, and
and
your
obviously-
input was very valued. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. It's been nice having you.
And then obviously the people that are paying attention to the thing,
Yeah,
you
so,
just make
so
sure.
right this time, if he's not named unorthodox, don't kick him.
There he is.
There we
I think
go.
that's it.
Good to have you. Can you hear us?
So,
Hello?
Hello, good
Yo.
to have you.
Oh, I'm on. Cool. I don't know if we have much time left right now, but I'm glad I got on.
See, we can make things happen. So,
Hello?
what can we do for you? Have you got any evidence of the shape of the Earth?
Oh, nothing. I'll just say this. I've been trolling you guys a little bit in the comments. I hope we can, have a decent discussion here today. I've been listening to you guys' podcast here lately, and you guys get, kind of get stuck on like one point, and I hope maybe we can prevent that by just kind of bouncing off a couple different topics. Yeah, I don't, if you guys say you don't know, if you have an explanation for something, I'm not, going to grill you for that. I'm just kind of curious what you believe. You guys have this big thing with NASA, right? SpaceX recently launched a rocket, and they live streamed all of it. They had all the news people there, simultaneously people watching it on their phones, broadcasting the whole 9 yards. And I'm just curious what you think about that in terms of NASA and how that relates.
If you could provide a link for the document that you're referring to, the video you're referring to, that would be great. In the alternative, our position is that there is no measurable or observable curvature. Axial rotation isn't a thing. Gravity isn't a thing. These are things that have not been proven by the scientific method, or indeed the model. Yet it's all accepted to be true.
yeah, I can ask one.
You guys are really breaking up on me bad.
So
Let me get closer to my router.
Did the rocket, the SpaceX launch? Yeah. Did it go straight up, or did it go into a curve, into a horizontal position?
Well, they're going into orbit. They're not going to Mars. So it wouldn't.
How do you know they're going into orbit?
Well, because there were thousands of people watching it there.
That doesn't mean that they
Simultaneously broadcasting it, simultaneously watching it on their screens, watching it go up in space, looking at their screen, verifying that what they're seeing is what correlates with what they're seeing in the sky.
Sure.
No,
How do
there's
you know that
nothing.
they were going into orbit?
Hold on,
Hold
one
on.
at a
There's
time.
nothing in any of that footage that demonstrates unequivocally that any of those rockets have ever gone into orbit. Nothing.
Yeah. Can I ask how you know that?
You can get a telescope and look at the satellites.
Yeah, but hang on. How do you know that they were due to go into orbit? What do you know? What do you understand the mission was for the rocket launch?
That's kind of irrelevant. What's that? I don't know the specifics of the mission. No.
Well, was it to orbit the planet, or was it to go to Mars, or what was the purpose for the thing? Was it to go to the International Space Station? Because like all of these things would depend on.
They're doing a bunch of different stuff. From what I understand, that one was heading towards Mars.
Right. So
Right,
then
so that
there's
wouldn't
no
be going
reason
into
at
orbit,
all
right?
to go into orbit.
That wouldn't be going into orbit.
You're right. Well, regardless, they have to get a trajectory. They have to use Earth's gravity to kind of slingshot them.
Oh yeah, sure.
No, slingshot is only when you come in approaching the planet and then you go around the back of it and slingshot past it. You just need to get to escape velocity to get out of the Earth's gravity.
Tony, how do you know that if space doesn't exist?
Because I know what the reference to slingshotting means. and you're not slingshotting when you're launching from Earth.
The gravitational
They're not going to launch it in a curve so they can let it drop down in the distance out of sight.
Yeah.
This whole idea that you can
There's little CGI support.
This whole idea of these gravitational slingshot that you can somehow transmit kinetic force through the medium of gravity is completely ridiculous and has absolutely no evidence to support it. It's just science fiction.
Are you a rocket scientist?
No, I'm not a rocket scientist.
I'm just trolling you. Okay, well, let me. My point is just that you can correlate.
We know you're just trolling us. So why don't you come?
I'm not being serious. I'm just saying I know you're not a rocket scientist. So your basis for understanding that is a little bit muddy in the first place.
What does that signify?
I'm an engineer, so yeah, I'm about an inch away from.
I know it's culturally meant to mean that you're really smart, but what do you really know as a rocket scientist?
So why don't you explain?
Let's not muddy this down, okay? Let me ask you this.
No. Hey. Why don't you explain to us how a gravitational slingshot works?
What does that have to do with anything we're talking about?
Well,
they pick up energy from going right in the orbit.
When you brought it up, I said there's no evidence to support it, and you asked me if I'm a rocket scientist, and then you're calling me. That's what it has to do with it. So,
and to be fair, he's right.
I'm saying you might be misunderstanding it.
Now I want you to explain it.
Yeah,
I'm not doing a lecture on gravitational inertia right now.
Explain it, can you? Yeah.
If you want me to upload like a 2-hour presentation, I'd be more than happy to do that. These topics that you guys are trying to delve into take years and years to understand. I can't get you to understand that concept in 5 or 10 minutes. It's going to take longer than that.
Upload your 2-hour presentation and then come back and we'll talk about it.
Let me ask you this. So if gravity doesn't exist, why does air pressure decrease as you move away from the Earth?
Because the density of the air gets less.
Because of what? Like you guys' whole thing is that. It's the density in this. If it's the same substance,
hold on, unorthodox. You've asked a question, right? Anthony started answering it, and then you've talked over him. So if you can let him explain, he said the gas pressure decreases because you've got less pressure in the gas as it goes up. So you've got more dense gas.
You're just restating the question.
You're now talking over me. So the gas pressure is more dense, lower. Simple.
Yeah.
That's not simple. You got to have an explanation for that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you don't have to have an explanation for it. It's self-evident.
Perfectly describes that, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Right. And even if it did, there is an alternative that makes a lot more logical sense, right? You understand what a fractional distillation column is, right?
No, I've never heard that term before. Oh, you're talking about what causes mirages, different densities.
A fractional distillation column is where you get a chimney and you heat it at the bottom, and what you do is, as the temperature decreases because it moves away from the source of the heat, the temperature of the gas gets to like a layered amount of temperature, and they siphon off the gas at certain temperatures, and that's called fractional distillation process. What you're essentially doing there is creating layers of different heat. Or change the heat from the layers of heat to density, and you have layers, and that would explain totally the density. The density is buoyant. It's based on the buoyancy or the density of the materials that are in it, and it's a relative state rather than a state that's being forced by anything called gravity.
Yeah, but you guys think the sun is closer, right? So if the sun is closer to us, the high pressure air should be above us instead of below us, because heat directly relates to temperature, right? If the sun is right above us, then the top air should be hotter.
That's nonsense.
It should have higher pressure.
The reason why
hold on. He asked a question. I want to give another answer. You said that the air pressure gradient perfectly matches the theory of gravity, but in fact, gravity, according to the conventional physics theory of gravity, it's supposed to obey the inverse square law, and the pressure gradient does not follow the inverse square law as gravity supposedly does. So in fact,
you have to account for other factors. Life isn't that simple.
Of course, we have to account for other factors. Exactly. But I'm just saying, you said it perfectly.
Yeah, like dark matter,
it perfectly matches this gravitational model. And in fact, it does not at all. You have to add all kinds of other factors, blah, 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 right? It's just.
No, I mean, not from my perspective. Not from my perspective of understanding it perfectly accounts for it. It makes sense.
You said it perfectly matches. It does not perfectly match. That's just,
okay. I won't use the word perfectly. It matches as best as it possibly can.
Not use the word
it doesn't match. It's
wrong.
There's really no such thing as perfect. I'll say that.
Now,
Let
there's
me-
something
Yeah, there
that's
is.
inaccurate or accurate.
Yeah, inaccurate. Look up the word accurate. See what you get as
Okay,
a definition.
I like that. I like that definition a little bit better. Accurate or inaccurate, because there's no such thing as, perfect in the sense of, these models, because
You used a
usually you
different
can't
word.
really isolate anything at all.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, but that's
That's
because they're
nonsense.
theoretical and not real.
Well, they're based on real things, right? If
No,
you
they're
if
not.
you watch a ball
They're
fall,
based on a model, on an idea, on a concept that is unproven.
we're,
Listen,
hu-
the
we're
fact that it
humans.
doesn't
We're not
follow
monkeys. That's what we
the
do,
fact that
right?
the fact that the gradient doesn't follow the inverse square is actually pretty detrimental to the idea that the atmosphere is somehow being gravitated according to the model of gravitation given by general relativity.
No, there's a lot of other stuff going on. It's not
There
just
is some
gravity.
What are the other factors?
cosmic gravitational pull.
But that could be the only thing that causes it to get less dense as you go up.
It's called the downward force traditionally. I still call it gravity. It's not gravitational pull. It causes material to divide in the heavy and the light in the upward and downward direction, basically in the form of buoyancy and density.
Let me ask you this. I know you guys have stance on this. Have you ever heard of a Foucault pendulum?
This guy's stuck in the general relativity paradigm, Arwen. So we have to.
Oh my God! Don't tell me you understand relativity. I barely understand that stuff. That is really far out there.
How are you a rocket scientist? No, what? That's how you're. How are you going to possibly?
I'm just.
How are you? How are you going to?
I mean, there's most people today don't understand relativity, and it's.
How are you going to explain how are you going to explain the gravitational slingshot if you don't understand general relativity?
You don't need that. They went to the moon using, F equals ma.
Yeah, but you have to
understand mass times acceleration and all that stuff. They didn't use Einstein's equation to go to the moon. You don't need that.
They're using gravity as a medium to transmit kinetic energy, right? And in fact, it's one of the very few supposed maneuvers or feats of engineering that actually does rely on the math of general relativity, the gravitational slingshot thing. You should look into that before you come on here and start waving.
Not the moon landing. They use it in satellites to correspond the time difference.
I'm not talking about the moon landing. We're talking about the gravity.
What evidence exactly do you have for the moon landing? Let's see this evidence of us
You guys are
to the moon.
breaking up a little bit.
Try to open your ears.
What was the point I was going to make?
Shut your mouth.
Have you ever heard of a
Shut
Foucault
your mouth
pendulum?
for a second and listen to the question. What evidence do you have for the moon landing?
Let's see here. Thousands of pictures. I got.
Maybe you didn't hear the question. Shut your mouth again and listen carefully. What evidence do you have for the moon landing?
Let's see. I'm holding a piece of paper right now that has a picture of the moon landing on it.
Oh, right. And you produced that picture by going to the moon and taking a picture of it, did you?
No. It was somebody else. That's how we do this in society.
Oh, right.
We don't do
I've got
everything
pictures of, let me think, Alice in Wonderland. Got lots of pictures. I'm holding a picture right now. It was produced by someone else. They clearly asserted when they handed me the picture that Alice in Wonderland is real. And they told it me. The guy who told it me had a white coat on with a little badge, and it had lots and lots of letters after his name. Therefore, Alice in Wonderland is real, correct?
Yeah, basically. Let me ask
Yeah, that makes you a moron who trusts what he sees on TV. Yeah? By your standards, you're not interested in verification or validation of this absolute nonsense that we went to the moon. You simply trust what you see on TV because you are clearly a complete retard.
Yeah, I would argue that I'm not, Nathan.
Yeah, I would too. Look up critical thinking. Yeah? Once you've looked up critical thinking, come back to us and assert a little less nonsense when you join the panel again.
Yeah, whatever. Show us the evidence that you're not a retard, okay? You believe in the moon landing?
What do you want me to do with that? So you believe 99.9% of the population are retards?
No, we think you, quite specifically, one member of this panel specifically is a retard. That would be specifically you.
Nathan, that's a very well documented argument, and I can't really refute that. I'm sorry.
Yes, I would agree. I have seen your channel. I would agree you are a retard.
Unorthodox. Let me ask you some questions.
Like I said, I don't get the whole, why? Why lie about that?
Why lie about what?
lots and lots of control, lots and lots of money, as long as
Well,
they can control what
SpaceX
the
is giving up their
reality
money
is
to
for
NASA.
you. And
You
are you
believe
like
they
a
could put a
rumpus
car in
number
space,
2 or
man?
something? Somebody that always talks for
Yeah,
everyone?
it's clearly a bit triggered.
I'm having trouble hearing you guys. Y'all breaking up.
Try shutting up for a little few seconds when people speak.
Well, I did, but people started calling me an idiot.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
We called you a retard, actually.
Go ahead. Oh, my bad. Retard.
Do you accept the Apollo moon missions that we landed on the moon?
I didn't used to, but after researching for quite a while, I believe it. Yeah.
Okay. And my second question is, do you think that 2 planes can cause 3 buildings to collapse?
No, I can actually go with you on 9/11. That's what I'm saying. On these other conspiracy theories, I understand the logic. I can go with you there. But on the flat Earth, it makes no sense.
I'd say you're not a lost cause, but it was close there. For a minute, I thought you were going to go full on crazy, right?
No, I can go with you on 9/11 and stuff like that. I'm there with you. I can totally follow that argument and that logic. But the flat Earth, I don't get it. Most of the population is religious. You're saying that these people in power are pandering to like a tiny percentage of the population that's not.
So you'll
religious.
just use the
Most
word
people are
religious.
Do you
So
think the
if-
International Space
It is
Station
a religion in the sense that people don't know that it's a religion.
The International Space Station is worse than the moon landing. You think that those videos where they show guys suspended on cables, you think that's real? You think they're really up in an orbiting spacecraft?
Well, you know I do. Why haven't I asked me? You can look up and you guys love the P900, right? You've seen transits of the International Space Station across the surface of the moon, have you not?
That's
And you believe people are on there?
Assume that what you're seeing is that what they're showing you in that crappy, ridiculous green screen video footage.
In their khakis, hanging out.
Yeah,
talking to
Right.
children.
with clean
Get the hell out of here.
24 hours.
Yeah, but we were in a space station. We were in a race with Russia. Russia had satellites pointed towards us. If they could debunk anything we're doing in terms of the space race, they would have been the first
Hands
people.
across the water, joining in with each other, sharing spacecraft according to their footage you see on TV, which is all you have. You came in by asserting that you'd seen a SpaceX rocket on TV, this being backed up by hundreds of people watching the rocket leave the ground. But then when we get to the actual transition into space, the thing that we claim doesn't exist, there's no footage to be had and there's no verification to be had. Same applies with the ISS. None of us will deny there's a light in the sky. The same none of us will deny that Mars is a light in the sky. But it doesn't prove that Mars is a physical body you can travel to, and it doesn't prove that there's men up in the sky hanging from trapeze wires showing you that space is actually there. You can't confirm any of that nonsense. And while you might be able to confirm that a rocket goes up, that's as far as your confirmation goes. You can't confirm any of the stuff beyond the breach of our apparent atmosphere. And that's where they start lying to you and sticking men up on trapeze wires. If you can't see that, you literally have no discernment and no critical thinking skills, because it's blatantly obvious they're on trapeze. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!